Appreciate that. So my intention with these presentations is to deliver what you guys are to help solve problems that you're looking for, solutions on. So in a very short amount of time, I can cover a tremendous amount of information and make you all pretty overwhelmed, right? But that's not the goal here. The goal here is for you to leave here with a plan that helps you take your child from where they are, right, in terms of helping them maximize their strengths, right, and manage their deficits. I mean, just kind of putting it as raw, simplest perspective. Maximize strengths, manage deficits, and complete and fulfill their potential. I know that sounds so easy, right? The lens of this presentation is through the lens of homework. But what I'm going to do, who here was with me last year? Anybody here last year? Okay, the hardest part was having to address you guys. Because I knew you'd be here, and I had to figure out how to address people that were here last year and take something, and make it different. But at the same time, I have to address some of the foundational, I have to give us all the same perspective on the challenges, so that when I'm talking about strategies and what to do, you're coming at those strategies with a foundation that I need you to. Okay? So I have to kind of build you from the ground up, and I got to do a little bit of a knowledge transfer before I start throwing you strategies and what to really do differently. The big difference in this presentation, I'm going to drill into problem solving and metacognitive skill development, okay, which we didn't really address too much. But from a parent perspective, that's not easy to do. It takes a tremendous amount of awareness and conscientiousness to start to help our children problem solve very differently. Okay, so but that's one of the kind of the shifts in my presentation that I feel like is going to be really powerful, but I want to get to there. So, so those that don't know me, I come at this professionally and personally, as a dad, as a husband. So my daughter Allison, my son, wow, it really is kind of hard to see, isn't it? So sorry. That's okay. It's Molly Dr.Murphy, the first family member, and then it kind of has grown since then. Very active kids involved in life and all that great stuff, right? With the same perspective of how do we help our children really become everything that they're capable of becoming. My professional world has 20 plus years in the private sector and public sector, whether as a special ed teacher in the private sector to a SPED director running a specialized school for kids with executive function deficits. It wasn't called that, right? It was just a therapeutic program, but it was really for kids with high frequency anxiety, and executive function deficits that impacted their self-regulation, their ability to self-regulate the mainstream. And that's how they got to me. So that experience, and then after getting my doctorate, I decided what do I want to do with my free time. So I started to try what I know with the families out there, and started a private practice that takes interventions into the home and works systemically and holistically on interventions and strategies to help families overcome challenges and fulfill meaningful life goals. So I'm just reflecting. You're having a hard time seeing anything I'm presenting.
No, I'm fine.
There's a nice comfy chair there. Okay.
Okay.
So just kind of a little bit about, so my practice in the South Shore, but we kind of have coaches scattered about. It was just me, but I had a hard time saying no. So because I got full. So I said to myself, well, what can I do? I can try to find people that I can coach. So I find special ed teachers that have the heartbeat that I can train in what I do and how to do it. And so I have an amazing team of coaches that can work day, night, and help me kind of fulfill my mission, and that's connect and help and solve as many problems as I can over the short time that I am on this planet. Who do we have here? Okay, so obviously you're here with a child in mind, I assume. You're not here necessarily just for yourself. So who do we have? Elementary parents. Okay, awesome. Okay, middle school parents. Okay, high school parents. Oh, wow, okay. It's different. College. Okay, in the middle. And high school is kind of like, oh, I feel like I'm both, right? Because it's right now, the game right now is college readiness, right? So that's so real and so palatable that it's everything. So I try to bring interventions on all levels because I just know I'll have an eclectic audience. from who here has children on an IEP? Okay. Who has children on a 504? Okay, awesome. And who here is just neither? Okay, awesome. This presentation is irrelevant to what the diagnosis is, like you heard me say when you first started, right? It's helping us see our children through an executive function lens and help them maximize their potential. So a little bit of the overview. I'm not going to. This is again, if you're following the slide. So I'm going to hit on all these points, really drilling down into the skills required to maximize potential and minimize and manage the deficits that may be symptomatic, right? Really symptomatic in preventing meaningful life outcomes. Homework obviously being a focal point because it's their most important responsibilities. But as I get into this, so let's just frame something out. I'm going to do a little bit of kind of framing out and conceptually starting to see how this all comes together. So why the homework battles? Well, we all know this. Homework is like a stepping stone, right? If I can do homework, I can study. If I can study, I can learn. I can self-teach, right? And if I can do those two things, I'm proving college readiness. I'm proving my own internal ability to learn independent of external factors, right? And homework is really that foundation of skills around time management, around task initiation, around organization, and around task completion, right? It's also the skills of reading and writing. But homework, you can't study first. You have to really get into this routine of just sitting down and completing tasks, which is why we call it homework. We don't call it studying quite yet until they get to middle school, high school, and then we start to shift that mindset because college is not about homework. College is about studying. Life's about studying. Okay, so let's look at homework from let's kind of get a perspective on what homework is. Homework is really an extension of responsibilities, right? Not only the school's responsibilities, probably the child's because they have their own, they see themselves wanting to be able to do homework, but it's also an extension of your expectations. Your expectation is that they're a student, whether they want to be or not, right? Their expectation is that you're doing homework, but there's other expectations that we can talk about that, right? And we can also say, how do we start to, as adults, how do we manage our own expectations? Well, we create something called routines, right? And routines is where we start to shape our life into meaningful categories, right? Into meaningful habits around our own expectations or the expectations of external figures like a boss or a teacher or a parent. What are some other expectations that we all know are pretty typical? Chores, right? What is homework? Homework's a chore, right? But there's other chores that we can start to conceptually grab a hold of as skill development opportunities that I want us to be very focused on during the rest of this presentation. None of our kids here have a homework disability, okay? So this is not about treating the disability of homework. It's about treating the symptom of how do I manage responsibilities that are put in front of me, right? Whether they're their own or they're put on by a parent or a teacher. How do I manage those? Well, what are some other chores that we see are pretty typical of most developing young children? And, taking out the trash, doing laundry, walking the dog. Maybe not doing laundry all the time, but, folding laundry, whatever, putting laundry away, making a bed, meaningful life, family life opportunities to build skills and interconnectedness to a family unit. And I'm going to get back to how critical that is a little later on. But chores. I talk a lot about chores. Homework is just another kind of chore, but it's the role of a student. I have a role of a son or a daughter, and there's chores that go with that role as well. But we can also look at routines and how we shape commitments in routines, right? So we have routines kind of guide the decision-making process through our life and the life of our kids. We want to start to see, so there's commitments. Well, what are commitments? Commitments have a time and space. I have a dentist appointment. I have a friend's house I'm going to at 3:30. I have a birthday party. I have a soccer practice, right? So in the game of kind of helping our children see commitments, homework's a commitment, right? It doesn't always have a specific time and space. It's a little bit more abstract, right? But in commitments, we have to learn how to prioritize, right? We have to learn how to see activities in a way that helps us balance productive time. In something really, really, really hard for our children this generation is productive time versus free time or downtime, right? Because in the ubiquitous world of internet and social media, it is very, 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 very difficult for this generation to separate conceptually, emotionally, and logically free time versus productive time, okay? So in this game, our goal as parents is to help our children develop an independence. But with that journey of independence, we also help them shape and overcome and manage the accountability that goes with it, right? Because you know children, you know teenagers, they want all the independence, but they want none of the accountability that goes with it, right? Right. Bring the car back with a full tank of gas, that kind of stuff. Like, just so we're helping them in this journey. And I'm going to take homework and I'm going to remove it as the focus of this conversation because I don't want to waste your time. Right? I want you here, leaving here, with how do I take as many opportunities as I can to engage my child in skill development opportunities. And if I just focus on homework, I'm putting a Band-Aid on a larger symptom, or a symptom that permeates all other environments. Right? So I want to take hold as a parent, and I want to take hold of all the opportunities I can so that my child is engaging in all aspects of life in a meaningful way. Okay? So